They're the number one brand in football. They're considered the most valuable franchise in America in any sport. The Yankees would sell for more. Nevertheless, the most valuable franchise in any sport, and they haven't won in a quarter century. Yeah, and by the way, they're in a division where at least two of the teams are already out of it, Washington and New York. Yeah, the pressure's on the Cowboys. No one's got. Listen, that's up to them. Their coach, that's up to them.
Okay.
Hello, Will. Will Kane, I need you to wait. Usually I'm not interested in you being the judge and jury because you're usually not qualified. But in this particular instance, you are. So I will ask you to wait until to go last on this.
And Max Kellerman, grant you that request.
Max Kellerman, I got to admit, I cannot believe, well, actually, I can believe that 18 minutes into the show, you've already disgusted me because you're forcing me to come to the defense of the Dallas Cowboys. I can't believe you're doing this to me, especially with me being in H-Town just a few miles down the road. I can't believe you're doing this to me. But the Dallas Cowboys, believe it or not, are not under the most pressure. And I'll tell you the number one reason why. Because deep in the crevices of our soul, we know that there's a limit to the expectations that we can have for the Cowboys as long as Jason Garrett is their coach. That automatically nullifies them and neutralizes them. And I'm here to tell you this. I'll tell you, I got two teams that are under more pressure than the Dallas Cowboys. Are y'all ready for this? It's the Pittsburgh Steelers and it's the Cleveland Browns. Both of them. And let me explain to you why. First, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, you have a situation, Le'Veon Bell is gone. Antonio Brown, you traded for him. All the dysfunction that came out in the public involving Big Ben Roethlisberger, who you basically said was a man amongst boys, okay, the overseer of everything, if you're Kevin Colbert, the GM, and you validated that by giving him a new 2-year, $68 million extension when he had 1 year left in his contract. So you got Big Ben Roethlisberger there. He's under the microscope. You got Mike Tomlin there because of the dysfunction that raked through the franchise. Mike Tomlin is on the record. We want volunteers, not hostages. You got all of that stuff going on, okay? And plus you got Antonio Brown, who's expecting to do work in Oakland with the Raiders, even though we'll see what happens with him and Derek Carr and John Gruden. So you got the Steelers. Not only that, you have a safety in Morgan Burnett who was let go by the Steelers. Why? Because he requested it. He wanted out. He wants nothing to do. And then where did he elect to go? He decides that he wants to go to the Cleveland Browns. 4 days later, a Cleveland Browns franchise that hasn't made the playoffs since 2002, hasn't won a damn thing, but because of Baker Mayfield, because of Jarvis Landry, because of the acquisition of Odell Beckham Jr., because Nick Chubb is there, because Kareem Hunt will be there after serving his 8-game suspension, okay? So you got all of these parts, not to mention Denzel Ward and the crew on the defensive side of the ball with a rookie wet behind the ears, breath smelling like Similac and Greedy Williams, talk about we gonna win a Super Bowl. We going to the Super Bowl or we gonna win a Super Bowl. He ain't even practicing in an NFL uniform yet. And Max Kellerman has the Cleveland Browns going to the postseason. Max Kellerman and Ryan Clark have them winning the AFC North. I'm sorry, with all that bloviating about Cleveland, with all of the dysfunction that raked through the Steelers franchise, there is no question in my mind that in concert with Jason Garrett still being the head coach for the Dallas Cowboys puts the Cleveland Browns and the Steelers under more pressure than the Cowboys. The Cowboys might have the microscope, but the pressure is on Pittsburgh and Cleveland.
I know you're champing at the bit. One more moment.
It's okay.
Stephen A. is arguing that the Cleveland Browns, who haven't made the playoffs ever, by the way, I refuse to believe they've ever been in a playoff series, in a playoff ever. I mean, when was the last time?
1995.
Those Cleveland Browns from Cleveland are under more pressure than a loaded Dallas Cowboys team that's gone a quarter century without a Super Bowl.
Max, you're missing it. I'm giving you credit because I'm saying your words and you bloviating about them puts them under the microscope. You didn't even catch the compliment.
Is that what he argued, Max?
Yeah. Go ahead, Will.
Honestly, I couldn't hear anything after he said the crevices of our soul. Of all the vivid imagery he's ever painted on this show, that's the one that's going to keep me tossing and turning at night. I'm literally envisioning the nightmares of the crevices of his soul. I can't.
It's a dark place.
This is hard to move on. I also feel like I walked into a love fest. What is this? All of a sudden, everybody here loves the Dallas Cowboys and their potential. Max, thank you for those flowery words. I am so excited about the season, Max, as you went through the 2-deep roster all the way until you got to the head coach. And that, in the end, is why the Dallas Cowboys are not under the most pressure in the NFL. There is individual pressure on the Dallas Cowboys, and that's what Jerry Jones is doing it. He's placing it squarely on one man's shoulders. There's pressure on Jason Garrett. And by the way, as you're looking at the 2020, 2019, 2020 NFL season, there are several individuals with pressure. You talk about Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston, Jason Garrett, John Elway has individual pressure going into this season. But when you talk about a team holistically that has pressure to do something in this upcoming season, I will give you three. And Stephen A., you named one of them. The three teams with the most pressure, in my estimation, are as follows. Number one, the Los Angeles Chargers. The reason why is there's a sense that the party is coming to an end. The Dallas Cowboys are beginning something. With the Chargers, they're coming to the end of the Phillip Rivers era. There's pressure to win it now. Same reason
no such thing as pressure
for
from
number
San Diego
two.
Chargers. Stop that.
Well, it's Los Angeles, not San Diego anymore.
Right. Oh, excuse me. I did it again. It's only been like 10 years.
That's right. Number two is the New Orleans Saints. For the same reason, the Drew Brees party has a clock ticking on it. And not only that, there are rumors that they could lose that coach to go specifically to the Dallas Cowboys. If they don't win with Sean Payton and Drew Brees this year, the experiment that we know of as the New Orleans Saints could come to an end. And this is why, in the end, Stephen A., I'm sure you anointed me as the judge, because the number one team with the most pressure this year is the Pittsburgh Steelers. There is pressure, real quick, Molly, on Tomlin and Roethlisberger to show they can do this without the guys they've chosen to say goodbye to, Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. The Steelers have to do it.
Can I ask the judge a question really quick?
Steelers who missed the playoffs, those Steelers?
Yeah, those Steelers.
Okay.
What team has the fullest bandwagon right now?
Well, Cleveland, he's right.
Cleveland.
Cleveland's
And which
pressure
team has-
is against the hype.
which
Stephen
team-
A's right about that, against the
Which team
hype.
has national games for the first time?
Cleveland.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
right, for the first time.
I'm the judge, Stephen A.